That Friday, Denise walked her paycheck past the grocery store and straight to the credit union. She slid the check under the glass and asked the teller to do something she'd never asked in her life. Take $20 out first, before her own hands could touch the rest. The girl behind the counter smiled like it was nothing. For Denise, it was everything. She didn't tell her sister. She didn't tell her son. And to understand why a 56-year-old cafeteria worker was standing at that window with her heart pounding over $20, we have to go back to one Saturday morning at the laundromat 3 months before. If your money's gone by Sunday night, no matter how careful you are, stay with me. This story is going to sound familiar. Denise Ferguson was 56 and she worked the lunch line at an elementary school in Louisville, Kentucky. Up at 5, first bus out of Portland, hairnet on by 6:30. She'd served 1,000 trays of green beans to kids who called her Miss D, and she knew every one of them that needed seconds and didn't ask. The contractor paid her weekly, every Friday, $340 more or less after they took their piece, 31 years of work, and she'd never once had $1,000 that was hers. It wasn't the big things. Denise didn't gamble, didn't travel, hadn't bought herself a new coat in 4 years. It was the way Friday worked. The check came in the afternoon, and the weekend was already standing there with its hand out. The grocery run, the fish plates after church, the grandbaby's shoes, her sister's phone bill, gas for a car that drank like a grown man. By Monday morning, the money was a memory. Her daddy used to say it plain, "Friday money's spent by Sunday, baby girl." That's just living. She grew up on that sentence, and because she believed it was just living, in 31 years, she never once tried to build a wall between her check and her weekend. In her top dresser drawer, wrapped in a church program from years back, sat a little red coin purse with a brass snap. Woolworths downtown, bought with her very first paycheck at 17. Too pretty to use, she'd decided back then, so it held nothing. 39 years of holding nothing, kept safe like it held gold. If you're new here, this channel was built for women like Denise, like you. Subscribe and stay close. These stories are ours. But that particular month, everything hit at once. The brakes on the car started singing, then grinding, and the mechanic said 280, and said it like weather, like it wasn't somebody's whole week. The school break was coming too, and break weeks meant short checks. Denise sat at her kitchen table that night with the bills fanned out and did the math twice. The math came back the same both times. There was no month where she came out ahead. There never had been. She was 56 years old, one break job away from empty, and her name had never been on a savings account with 4 digits in it. What she didn't know was that the laundromat on Saturday was about to change the whole arithmetic. She was folding towels at the long table when she noticed Miss Corinne at the machine by the window, counting quarters out of a mason jar lid, easy as you please. Miss Corinne was 82, hat on even at the laundromat, and everybody in Portland knew her face. 40 years behind the teller window at the neighborhood credit union, back when it was the only place that treated folks with respect. They got to talking, the way you do over folding. Denise, half joking, said money ran through her hands like water through a colander, always had. Miss Corinne didn't even look up from her quarters. Feed the book on Friday, baby. Money that waits out the weekend never sees Monday. And she went right back to counting, like she'd said something about the dryer settings. 40 years at that window, she added quietly, and she could tell you which women retired easy. Not the ones who made the most, the ones whose passbooks got fed first, every single Friday before the weekend woke up. Then she asked Denise to pass the fabric softener. She had no idea what she'd just handed over. Denise carried it home like a splinter she couldn't dig out. On the bus back, Denise held the laundry bag on her lap and watched Portland slide by the window, the cold of the glass against her temple. At home, she went into the dresser for a clean pillowcase, and her hand stopped on its own. on the church program, on the little red purse inside it. She pressed her thumb on the brass snap once, didn't open it, shut the drawer, and stood there a second with the warm laundry against her chest. Friday came, and Denise did what 31 years had trained her to do, without even deciding, cashed the check, filled the cart, covered her sister's phone, tucked gas money in the visor, and told herself, same as always, that whatever was left come Monday would be the start of her savings. The old lady's words drifted by, far off, like a radio playing in someone else's car. Monday came. What was left was $4.60. She dropped it in the junk drawer and called it a start anyway. The church program turned up on the kitchen table one morning, folded small, with the red purse sitting on top of it. Denise had no memory of taking either one out of the dresser. She stood there in her robe, coffee going cold, trying to remember what she'd gone looking for. The first crack opened at work, of all places. Payday Friday, the break room loud, and Denise noticed what she'd never let herself notice. Miss Alberta, the head cook, 60 and unbothered, ate her lunch every Friday with a deposit slip sticking out of her apron pocket. Filled out in the morning, before the check even landed. Denise knew by heart the route her own money took every Friday, every stop it made, every hand it passed through. And it hit her, standing at the milk cooler, that in all those years she had never once been a stop on her own route. That thought stuck to her like grease you can't wash off with cold water. So she tried, the only way she knew, harder. She skipped the fish plates twice, said no to the extra grocery run, white-knuckled the whole week. By the following Friday she'd saved $14 and felt ashamed she could name out loud. $14 was a tip she was leaving herself after serving her own life hand and foot for 31 years. Then break week came, the short check, and her hand went into the junk drawer all by itself, easy, practiced, like it had made that trip 100 times. This time, she watched it happen. She stood at that drawer with the bills in her fist and couldn't look at the red purse on the counter. That Sunday made it worse before it made it better. Her son came by with the grandbaby, and while the little one chased the cat, he set an envelope on the table, quiet, the way men do when they're embarrassed. Ma. For the breaks. Pay me back whenever, or don't. Her boy, who was raising a family on warehouse pay, sliding money to his mother, who had worked since before he was born. Denise looked at that envelope and saw her whole mother's life, and her own, and the grandbabies coming up right behind it, the same wheel turning one more time. That's when it hurt all the way down. A paycheck isn't yours just because your name is on it. It belongs to whoever touches it first. And for 31 years, the one person who never touched Denise's check first was Denise. Miss Corinne's voice came back whole, clear as a bell through glass. Feed the book on Friday, baby. Money that waits out the weekend never sees Monday. Denise picked the red purse up off the counter and turned it over in her hands. Her check came every Friday. The weekend came every Friday too, right behind it, hungry. For 31 years, she'd been setting the table for the weekend and eating what it left. The purse clicked open under her thumb. Empty and 39 years old and still waiting. And that is how, the very next Friday, Denise walked her paycheck past the grocery store and straight to the credit union, heart pounding, and asked the girl to take 20 out first. Into an account with her name on it before her own hands could touch the rest. $20, small enough that it couldn't fail, first enough that nothing could get to it. She put the deposit slip in the red purse, snapped it shut, and did her shopping with what was left. And here is the strange part. Nothing collapsed. The weekend just ate one plate less. That was the rule, and it fit in one breath. Every Friday the book eats first. She kept the appointment. 20 became 30 when she noticed the late fees she wasn't paying anymore, because feeding the book first somehow made the rest of the money behave. Then Miss Alberta, who saw the deposit slip in Denise's pocket one Friday and just nodded, put her onto hemming. Teachers' slacks, choir robes, kids' uniform pants, $8 a pair at her kitchen table with the machine her aunt left her. 2 pairs a week, sometimes 4. That money never even said hello to the weekend. It went straight in the book, and one Friday the test showed up the way tests do. Her sister called about a phone bill, again, the 3rd one that year, and Denise heard herself say gently, "Not this week." Her sister went quiet, then cool, then off the phone. Denise sat with that sting all evening and didn't call back to fix it. Some prices you pay once so you can stop paying them forever. 6 months and 2 weeks after that Saturday, at the laundromat, the teller stamped her passbook and slid it back under the glass. And Denise read the number twice, the same way she'd once done bad math twice at her kitchen table. $1,040, hers, with her name on it. She walked out onto the sidewalk and stood in the sun a minute, holding the red purse, and let the bus go by on purpose, just to feel what it was like not to run. And the story could end right there. It doesn't. 2 Fridays later, in the break room, the new girl on the line, Tasha, 24, sat staring into her first paycheck with her thumbnail going up and down the edge of the envelope, doing the same sad arithmetic Denise had done at that kitchen table her whole life. Denise knew that look from the inside. It was hers, 31 years of Friday's worth of it. She sat down with 2 coffees and told her about the laundromat, about Miss Corinne and her quarters, about the wall you build between your check and your weekend. And she handed the rule over the same way it was handed to her. Plain, no sermon, every Friday, before anything and anybody, the book eats first. $20, baby. Small enough, it can't fail. The next week she brought Tasha a little red coin purse from the dollar store with a snap. Her own red purse rode in her work bag now, every day with the passbook inside. It had waited 39 years to find out what it was for. It was never made to hold nothing pretty. It was made to hold first things. Feed the book on Friday, baby. Money that waits out the weekend never sees Monday. If this story touched something in you, write it in the comments. Friday, me first. All caps, just like that. I read every single one. And send this to a friend who works too hard to be this broke. She'll understand it before it's over. And if you made it this far, this channel is yours too. Subscribe and tap the bell. Every week there's a story about a woman who turned it around the real way, slow and quiet and for good. If you want to take the first step today, there's a free app that will help you bring order to all of this, the same way the red purse did for Denise. The link is in the comments. Take care of yourself, friend. And remember, the weekend is always hungry. Feed the book first. And if this story spoke to you, stay a little longer. Right next door, there's another one about a woman who did everything right and still had nothing left until she found the one mistake nobody sees. It's worth your while.